Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show here on Channel 1 Television. On The Point of View, we pick the right topics, we get the right guests, and ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. We have a big show for you tonight. It's a two-in-one show. In the first part, my guest will be debunking two very notorious myths about the Ghanaian economy. Joe Jackson gave a fantastic lecture last night at the CIMG's evening program, and he says there are two very important quick-one-answer stories we tell ourselves about the economy, which are completely untrue. Later on, I'll be speaking to the new managing director of GCB Bank PLC. Of course, he's been in office for a year. Their 2025 financials are out with some very interesting numbers. We'll be delving into the facts behind the figures with Farihan Alhassan in the second part of the show. Stay tuned.
In my line of work, a confident smile is everything. Kale Charcoal Toothpaste keeps me on top of my game and ensures my smile is always radiant and bright.
With the tiring nature of my job, we spend several hours under the scorching sun. To keep our teeth white and our breath fresh all the time, we use none other than Kale Charcoal Toothpaste. Kale Charcoal Toothpaste. You're on a Kessie and in a kit one.
Samayo kendini, ehube here, semecha sapapadia to amame manfo. Kale Charcoal's natural ingredients, eno bomb is seho bine, and maniswing, nesansu mama hotoso, e will bedroom.
Kale Charcoal Toothpaste. Choose Kale Charcoal Toothpaste for anti-cavity, whiter teeth, and fresher breath all day. Available in 80 gram and 150 gram. Grab yours today.
Kale, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Bestie? Yeah! Hey, Fifi!
The Blanksters premieres on Thursday, April 2nd, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. on Channel 1 TV.
The vibe is too much.
Welcome back. So tonight we're debunking two big myths about Ghana's economy. Joe Jackson is the CEO of Delex Finance. Yesterday, he held an impressive lecture at the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, where he said that there were two big quick-one-answer stories about Ghana's economy he wanted to debunk. Joe, good to see you. Good evening.
Good evening. Good to see you.
How are you doing?
I'm surviving.
So even though you run Delex, you have time to do these media appearances and also give these occasional lectures, right?
In Akan, they say, "With my daughter, So I listen. Luckily for me, I'm old. I'm an empty nester. My wife is also busy, so I have more time than most people have because.
So you picked the topic of Anansi stories about the economy of Ghana. Why Anansi stories about the economy of Ghana?
Because Anansi is a trickster. And Anansi will deceive. Yesterday I was talking about how Anansi there'll be 2 bottles of water for 3 of us who are thirsty, including Anansi. And Anansi will tell you, oh, the 2 of you, just keep the water. Just take it, I'll be thirsty. And once you pick up the bottle, Anansi says, but I'm thirsty. Why don't you give me half of your water?
Okay.
Of course, after he's been so kind, you give him half, the other person gives half, and Nancy ends up with the full bottle. The rest
the 2 of you have half.
Half. And you go away and you feel shortchanged, and you're not sure the end result. You're not happy with the end result, but you're not exactly sure where Anansi.
I see.
Yes.
And you think that there are some stories we tell ourselves about our economy that are also not true?
That leave us shortchanged.
That leave us shortchanged.
Yes.
How many stories are these?
There are a lot of stories, but I picked on 2.
So this is the first 2?
This is the first 2.
So what's the first one?
The first one is simply this. We say all the time, Ghana's currency is weakness and challenges come because we import too much and we export too little. And
you've said it for over 10 years.
Yes.
I've heard many presidents say it.
Listen, when we did a search online, there were over 60,000 mentions of this by government officials, private officials, CSOs.
Unique mentions of excessive imports.
Yes, excessive imports.
Over the past decade.
Over the past decade. And it all said, it's after fashion. Eat Ghana, grow Ghana. Don't use Chinese toothpicks. Take your pick.
So you feel it's an oversimplified or possibly false narrative?
It's a narrative that demands further examination because the data doesn't support the narrative. And that's the important thing to look at this. Take the narrative, take the data and say, something.
So this claim that Ghana's currency weakness is caused mainly by lack of exports or excessive imports, you think it's too simplistic? It's surface?
It's too surface.
You dug deeper?
We dug deeper.
You dug deeper. So what did you find?
Well, for starters, let's all agree on this. If you take the value of exports and you take the value of imports, if exports were a lot, you would expect that the cedi will appreciate. If imports over the value of exports, then the cedi will be under pressure because they are not in enough dollars.
So our trade balance is a good measure of where dollars are moving.
Yes.
Because when you export, you bring dollars in.
Yes.
When you import, you send dollars out. So if you have more exports than more imports, your trade balance is positive. It's positive. And therefore, you shouldn't have struggles with your currency.
At all.
This is the premise.
This is the premise.
Good, I agree with that.
On the flip side, if you import too much, there's not enough dollars because the exports that bring in dollars are less. So if you import too much, then the flip side is that the cedi will what? Depreciate.
So if your trade balance is negative, it means you're importing too much.
You're importing too much.
Your point is that people have blamed our currency depreciation for too many imports or not enough exports.
Yes.
But I think that's not the real issue.
It can't be.
Hey, even though your premise seems to suggest this.
Yes.
So go deeper.
Let's go deeper. And if you go to the next slide that I used, that's where the trouble starts.
Okay, so what's this?
You see that this is our trade balance at the end of every year for the last, 8 years. 2017, 18, 19, 20, all the way to 24.
So this is our trade balance implicita.
Simple. You take the volume of exports. The striking thing is that our trade balance has consistently been positive. Not even once has it been negative. Over this period, where it starts from around 1.1 billion, goes on, and we hit a very high trade balance in December 2024 of what?
5 billion.
5 billion, over 5 billion.
Meanwhile, within that same period, the currency struggled.
The cedi went from 4 cedis to 14 cedis.
So this December 2017, cedi was 4.
4.
By December 2024, it was 14.
Yes.
So you're saying there's much more than simply more exports than imports?
Listen, at the end of 2017, the cedi was 4.5 to $1. By the time we finished 2024, when the balance was highest, it was 14.7 to $1.
Wow. And none of these years had a negative?
No. So, and it was, we're talking about over 200, 300% depreciation? Obviously.
There's something going on.
Something going on. And that something cannot be simply be explained by export more, import less. Because we've been exporting more for all these years. Nothing has changed.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So you are making your argument.
Yes.
So what? So drill deeper for me.
When I drilled deeper and I looked at the issues, I came to one conclusion that this issue is less about imports, our import appetite, and more about weak domestic retention of the export value.
Weak domestic retention of the export value.
Yes.
Oh, so the export value is big, but the money doesn't stay here.
Yes. In fact, I will go to one more slide to illustrate the leakages and give you a formula that explains this clearly. Because in my next slide, where I give example of the leakages that I'm talking about.
So you're talking the specific kinds of leakages.
Yes.
All right.
And here, you would see that Into that bucket comes what? Oil, gold. In fact, the two are over 70% of our exports. And cocoa. Out of that leakage, there's repatriation of profits. Companies go to GIPC, file a return, get a response, and move their money legitimately, legally
out of the country.
2, companies give foreigners contracts to come and provide services, technical services, management services.
And you have to pay them.
And you have to pay
foreign
them.
currency.
You have to pay them in foreign currency.
That's what you call service imports.
Service imports. Now, the net service imports is the revenue we get
from what they do and what we pay them.
Yes.
And most of the time, we pay them more than they give us.
Far more. You see the numbers. Of course, there is debt service too.
Okay.
Debt service comes in 2 ways. Companies say, I took a loan and I need to pay. Right? And then the government also pays dollar out. Then finally, because the CD is always under pressure, people want to keep their money outside.
So those are the 4 profit repatriation.
Those are the top
4. So go back to the bucket. I just want to
yes, I want to
go back to the bucket.
Yes.
Go back. Good.
Yes.
So you're saying these are the bucket, the main bucket.
This one.
This one is fine.
This one is fine.
Okay.
So you see that there are 4 holes in that bucket.
Yes.
And those 4 holes: profit repatriation, service imports, capital flight, debt services. And I've put them on that same screen in order of magnitude.
So net service imports is a lot.
3
consultants come do work for us. We pay them in USD.
Thank you.
All those loans and the people we have to give work to.
Yes.
Almost $4 billion is going out to these guys.
Out.
And then net profit repatriation.
Yes. Legitimate shipping out.
Also
profits. Now, note that the trade balance for 2024 was 5.1 billion. When you add those 2 items,
it wipes off everything.
Everything is gone.
So your current account will be in deficit.
Already your CD is under pressure.
And then there's also debt service and capital flight.
Listen, debt service was 2024. There was not much debt service because we're really not paying that much for external debt service. And then we're not doing so well that very few people were shipping out dollars anyway.
Can you go into specific sectors where this happens? Because you said there's oil, gold, and cocoa, right?
Yes, and that's very important.
It's interesting to know which sectors are culprit in this leakage issue.
Yes, and that is a very important part of the analysis. Because you see, when you look at sectorial, where does this leakage occur? Interestingly, the leakage occurs in the same 2 top.
The same place that we get most of our export revenues is the same place that leakage occurs.
The highest leakage occurs. The biggest leakage comes from gold. Remember, gold exported
almost 12 billion.
Almost 12 billion.
In 2024.
Yes. The money that stayed here was 46%.
Wow.
Yes. About 5.5 billion.
More than 50% of the gold proceeds, the dollar proceeds for selling of gold did not stay in Ghana.
It did not stay in Ghana. And when I say was retained in Ghana, I'm talking salaries, local contracts, community work, charity, CSR, tax, everything that was paid for in cedis.
Wow.
Everything. Local salaries, even local components of, what do you call it? Expatriate salaries. Everything. I put everything together. Best case.
We've only retained 46%.
46%. And this was reported by the mines themselves. I just took their own figure.
I see.
They said they had invested 5.5 billion in Ghana and broke down all the categories and everything. It came down to 46%. So in the gold sector, 53.8% went out.
Could it not also be that some of the companies who sell the gold, they don't even retain the proceeds here, in the sense that maybe he buys gold from a mining company and decides to go and refine it in Dubai? That whole transaction is done in a British bank.
I'm not even talking about transactions that are done on the blind side.
I think on legitimate.
This, you see, it's important. These figures, one, come from Bank of Ghana annual reports. That's why they stop in 2024, because I'm waiting for the 2025 reports. We want to use legitimate sources. Two, the amount reported, that 5.5 billion, was reported on the gold board side last year, where the mining sector triumphantly told us that they had invested 5.5 billion into the economy. And that was a huge, and you see, if you read the announcement, everything is there.
Meanwhile, 6.4 billion is gone.
It's gone. And what they didn't say was that they had earned 11.9 billion in export revenue.
So your previous slide explains this slide better.
Thank you.
But is that not why then they set up the gold board? Because then what the gold board tried to do, because don't forget that in 2025 as well, artisanal gold also increased.
Yes.
So the gold board was set up in a way, in a sense, to try and stop some of this.
Yes, but remember, gold board cannot stop legitimate repatriation of profits. Gold board cannot tell a mining company how to give out its contracts.
No, I'm talking about I agree. I'm talking about the artisanal gold, because don't forget that for the first time, artisanal gold is more.
Gold board was excellent, but artisanal gold itself is problematic.
Depending on how you get it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because some of it is legal.
Some of it is legal. But you have to ask yourself, at what cost? How sustainable? How productive? How many jobs is it creating of real value? But that argument will get to the second myth.
Okay.
But this is legitimate. And then oil. As for oil, you know, very little stays here.
Only 34% of the oil.
Let's say 35%. Let's be generous. 34.8
of the oil revenue stays in Ghana.
Yes.
And the rest goes out through these, because we don't own the oil fields.
We don't own nothing.
Wow. So a lot of noise about oil, about nothing. Do you think this is the same for cocoa? If you run this for cocoa, would you have the same?
You would have slightly better figures because of cocoa board.
So the leakage will be less for cocoa.
Leakage will be less for cocoa. Remember that the farmers themselves are given a certain percentage of their end user price. And then we process a bit more here. Even though for that 2024, the values are lower because we were not processing, because cocoa the cocoa, what do you call it? The cocoa butter company, etc., were not working well. Remember, there's now an attempt to revive them. Okay. In fact, Cote d'Ivoire processes far more cocoa than we do.
So if we process more cocoa here, added more value to it, we'll retain more of the value. Can I say so that if for example, we refine gold here more, some of that would also change?
If the mines were even owned by Ghanaians, such that the profit was not being repatriated, we would hold a bigger value.
So the question we should ask, you're saying, it's not about, okay, two things. If you increase overall pot of the export, obviously you retain more.
Yes.
But the real issue is stopping the leakage.
Yes, but there's even a harder issue here.
Which is what?
You see, we're an import-dependent country. So what happens is that for every dollar that we grow, there is some growth in our import value. But for every dollar that we bring in exports, we're retaining less than half.
So we are struggling.
We are struggling. And that part of the struggle is because the two biggest sectors that bring us money, over 70% of our export value, those sectors are leaking out more than 50%. And that's the
So from a policy perspective, the government should stop the leakage.
Stop the leakage, especially in the extractive sector.
So by trying to own some of the resource, adding value to some of it, and
let's take the biggest.
By the way, how does this done? Is Ghana an outlier if you compare us to, say, let me give you Botswana or Nigeria or some other countries? What would be the situation?
That's the interesting part. For example, because Nigeria enforces local content laws, they are reporting minimum 56% retained. You are below 50%. So for each
so Nigeria retains 56%.
So for each dollar that goes out, there is some money that is kept behind.
And this is for oil and gas.
Yes.
And we are retaining 34%. So we are way below.
We are way below.
South Africa retains 55 to 70% of gold exports.
Yes. In fact, South Africa is interesting because we export more gold than them. We are the number one exporter in
Africa.
But South Africa is the number one value retention.
Oh my God. Which means they own their gold. Their gold mines belong to them. So the money stays in SA. So their rand is not as exposed as the CD would be.
No.
So this idea that the government should find local ownership for mines is a strong idea.
Very strong idea.
Strong idea.
A very important idea. Now, you see, here, bear in mind, we're not talking about the process of getting local ownership because that strays into politics and how it is allocated.
No, you're making a general point.
The general point
if
is that
you want your currency to be strong, you cannot afford your biggest exporters to be non-Ghanaian.
Thank you. And you must enforce, you see, there are local content laws in Ghana. If we enforce those local content laws, that net service, that is huge. That's the biggest leakage. Remember, net service is a bigger leakage than even repatriation of profits. So the real issue is that why are we not enforcing local content laws so that some of the contracts will come to Ghanaians who will execute it with Ghanaians who will keep the money here. Even if they don't execute it with Ghanaians, but the people are resident here, the money will stay here.
So let's talk about, you said you would give me a formula about usable FX.
Please go on. You would see that.
So you're saying that the best way to calculate this is to look at not just FX that comes in, but FX that's usable.
FX that's usable. And FX that's usable is on my slide 20. My slide 20.
The one with the man thinking, help me understand this.
No, this one, help me understand this. Exactly.
Explain this to me.
Okay. Now, the fact that I've exported $100 worth of crude oil doesn't mean I have $100 to buy petroleum products for Ghana or drugs for Ghana. What really happens is that it is how much I retain.
Of course.
Multiplied by how much I earned.
So the risk is the retention rate.
It's the retention rate.
So if the retention rate is 90%, I'll get 90 cents for every dollar.
Thank you. Then you can apply that dollar to buy goods.
So if I need $1 to import, and yet I only retain 34% of my dollar exports, I'm getting 34 cents for every dollar I need.
So you need to export $400 before you get the $100
which is what
you
puts
need.
pressure on the CD.
Thank you. That's what you have to understand. Because it's not just the money goes and all the money comes to sit in Ghana.
Because the importers are looking for their dollar to import.
Yes.
But because your export is not retaining the dollar you get, then it pushes the price of the dollar up.
So I have what I call the usable FX, which is the retention rate times our export earnings.
Beautiful.
Now, because if the FX demand is greater than the usable FX and not necessarily the value of the exports, bear this in mind, because FX demand, if it is bigger than the usable FX, the money that we get, of course, the city will
So you use usable FX, available FX.
Available FX. Because when you compare...
Not FX on paper.
Yes, because when you compare value, total value for total value,
all right,
there's something wrong. And my argument is that this retention rate is poor. And for so long as the retention rate is poor, even though in total value, we are exporting more.
So you say we are solving the wrong problem. I thought encouraging more exports would be good, but your point is, even with our level of merchandise export, if we retain more, we'll be okay.
We'll be okay.
So it's not about quadrupling our exports.
No.
It's about getting the leakage blocked.
Yes.
So what's your policy recommendation for this one?
Listen, my policy recommendation is straightforward. It's a number of things. Number one, deepen domestic participation. We talked about that. And bear in mind that
for either government or private,
yes,
but it must be Ghanaian.
It must be Ghanaian. Bear in mind that we haven't spoken about lithium. Lithium is going to come. Will lithium even give us the 35%? Maybe even not. So when the retention rate is low, for every dollar invested, it's actually putting more pressure on us.
Interesting. So the whole discussion about lithium, we should be more interested in it.
We should be very, you see, sometimes it seems very remote. And after all, we say, but some people are coming, they are bringing some money and we will benefit. It's not that simple. They can bring money, and yet the structure of the deal will be such that we'll actually be putting more pressure on the city. If we don't solve the leakages, and how do you solve the leakages? The biggest leakage is in the local suppliers and that local content laws that we are not enforcing. In fact, I would demand
so all those services
we
as
should
well
enforce it. Even that is in the law now. Even look at increasing it.
So more local suppliers within the mining firms, and then the technicals.
We've had anecdotal stories that at some point, some of the mining firms, even some of the extraction firms, not just mining, extraction firms, used to buy water from Côte d'Ivoire.
Oh, common water.
Common water. And usually, their biggest excuse is that there's no technical capacity. There's no technical capacity. There should be a deliberate effort to identify the requisite technical capacity required by these extraction firms and make sure that we are producing enough people. It's not just that the School of Mines in Takwa should be producing the requisite people who would go in and do the jobs locally. We should have entrepreneurs who are employing them so that that money, if, for example, there's a pipeline inspection, that pipeline inspection and repair job shouldn't go to a company in Australia or a company in South Africa. It should be a company in Ghana because our local content laws mandate that. And it's there already.
You've made a strong case for the first myth. I'll take a break. When I come back, we'll see what the second Kwekwanansi story is. But my guest is Joey Jackson for the first part of the show. And we're looking at 2 myths about Ghana's economy that he wants to debunk. Stay with us.
Every dream starts with a prayer, and every prayer ends with a promise. At Blue Financial Services.
This Easter, as homes fill with laughter, shared meals, and love, pause for a moment and remember a child who has no one to celebrate with. Across Ghana, children in selected orphanages are hoping for care, hoping for comfort, hoping for kindness. You can be the reason a child smiles this Easter. Support the Easter Orphan Project 2026. Your donation in cash or in kind will provide warm meals, clothing, school supplies, and essential care for their well-being. Send your mobile money donation to 0550-900-006 or write a check in the name of the City FM Foundation. You may also bring your donation to Channel 1 TV in Tesano, Accra, Ghana. You can donate milk, sugar, rice, toys, books, or detergent. For more information, visit www.citynewsroom.com or call 0550-900-006 or 0302-226-013. The Easter Orphan Project comes off on Monday, 6 April 2026 and is powered by 97.3 City FM with support from Channel 1 TV. This Easter, let your kindness light up a child's life.
Smile, Look lively, okay? Smile, smile. Is the money too small? A bad stomach ruins your day. Don't let it. Take Gastron, your most effective antacid for the relief of symptoms of peptic ulcer, heartburn, gas pain, flatulence, and indigestion.
Hey guys, what are you waiting for? Let's go, let's go.
Mwah. Can you bring down the smiles more? Gastron, effective relief from stomach discomfort. Manufactured and distributed by NS Chemist Limited. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Welcome back. Tonight on The Point of View, we're debunking, or at least my guest is debunking, two myths about the Ghanaian economy. He calls them quick analysis stories. He says, let's not over-agonize imports. If we can retain our export earnings, we will do really fine because we've had a very good trade balance over the past 10 years. He says it's another myth. His name is Joe Jackson, by the way. What's the second myth?
That's the most controversial one.
Controversial one?
We say SMEs are the engine of growth.
Oh, they are not?
They are not.
Actually, Kufuor said private sector is the engine of growth, but these days they say SMEs are the engine. 70% of the economy is there, so we need to push SME.
Listen,
but that sounds nice. What's your problem with that?
Okay.
I mean, that's a good thing to do. What's your matter?
Here's my argument. That SMEs, as a total subset, they are not the engine of growth. That real growth comes from a smaller subset of companies who are excellent, who have high productivity, and may have started as SMEs, no doubt. And those are the ones that drive growth. Those are the ones that deliver sustainable jobs. Those are the ones that can scale. Those are the ones that will give us the kind of growth that we want in Ghana. Listen, since 10 years, again, let's go back 10 years.
2016.
2017.
Okay.
Guess what? Since 2017 to 2025, there have been 60 plus SME programs.
Over 60?
Over 60.
Wow.
If you take the 10 years, it means we've launched a new program, an average 6 new programs
a year,
every year.
And these are SME funding types? Publicly supported?
Not all public supported.
Some are private.
Some are private, some are by the banks, some are by our development partners. If these broad SME funding programs were delivering the growth that we expected, we should be an economic superpower. An average of 6 per year.
You don't think they are delivering?
No.
Why?
And they are not delivering because, first of all, these companies die.
They die?
They die. They die. You know, they have high mortality. Yes, they have high mortality. And you'll find that in my slide 32.
Yeah,
high mortality. High mortality. They die. Over 80% die in the first 3 years.
Wow, 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5.
That's a high mortality rate.
Oh, it is. It is. But if you think about it, how many SMEs have we?
And some also they reinvent themselves and get more funding. But they are the same. They are not going to do anything.
They rotate through the programs.
Yeah. So they change name by the same guy, collecting all the money.
And the worst part is that they are largely informal.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, informal is good. But informal means that as an entity, your multiplier effect that goes to increase what we all enjoy is minimized.
Okay.
Because your connections, if you are formal, there'll be more connections between you and the rest of the economy. Those connections are broken. So you are not delivering as much as you can. By being formal, at the very least, you pay your taxes. By being formal, at the very least, your employees are paying social security.
So you can keep a track record of what you're doing. But I thought you need to formalize to get some of this support. Usually they'll ask you to bring your returns and all these things.
That's the point. Oh, no, those things, they don't matter. Those are our programs.
They are manufactured.
Not just manufactured, they are politically driven. These SMEs have even a double whammy. The productivity is low. They are sleeping. Productivity is very low. But the worst part is that even through the process of receiving programs and training, etc., you know what happens? The productivity doesn't even increase. So productivity is stagnant.
But I thought other countries to support SMEs. So.
In fact,
I read some book, they said some of these companies like Samsung and things, they started like SMEs, but they were quickly scaled up to become giants and stuff.
Thank you, but you've nailed it on the head. That they started as SMEs, but they were selected as champions.
Okay.
Because they can deliver. And that's my point. Where is Ghana's Samsung? Where is Ghana's LG? We all started from the same place. Where is Ghana's Dangote? Where is Ghana's MTN? Where is Ghana's Lechego?
But
Where is Ghana's Access Bank, Zenith Bank, GT Bank? Which of our companies has a significant presence across Africa? Is making, listen, first of all, even our definition of SMEs, we should be careful. Globally, the definition of SMEs requires that you make more than 600 million in turnover.
Dollars?
Of course.
Then Ghana, most companies are SME now.
That's 6 billion. No. I raise my hand. Alex, global definition, SME.
Oh my Lord.
What about Channel 1?
I'm sure we are in the SME space. We are strongly inside it. So, but I thought these SME programs target and they are not broad.
No. Let's look at the comparison between SME programs. And in my next slide, I talk about this comparison. And I say
between Ghana and other countries?
Yes, I compare Ghana to Singapore and South Korea, simply because we all started around the same place 69 years ago. Here we have average six per year. Then they have very, very few and targeted. Here is Hwegum Potogum. Everybody
So it's not well targeted.
It's not targeted. And listen, the worst part is that there's political allocation. Here, when my party is in power, there's a program. I recycle to get some money. Worst part, I don't even pay back. There it is performance, and it is striking. You can go online and even pick up the kind of statistics that require you to meet before you must have survived a certain number of years, so that we know you must have a board, you must have the number of employees, and then you get help. Here it is fragmented. You see, in Singapore, they don't celebrate startups, so they scale champions.
They don't celebrate startups, they scale champions.
Yes. And Korea did not grow by funding all SMEs. It picked the few that were winners. The point is simply this. Take a classroom where there are a few smart people, a number of average people, and a few people who are
struggling
hard. If the teacher is unkind, he'll call them dancers.
Okay.
And yet, we insist that the teacher should give everybody the same amount of time and the same resources. There are some people who need to be given a different kind of approach so that they'll be promoted and they'll get far. Then there's the middle. Some of them, they also need a different kind of approach, because if you don't take time, they will die. But one size fits all.
So what are the real problems SMEs face, and why should we change our
SMEs, the problems they face are really market access. They lack capacity. They have to scale.
Okay.
And they need export competitiveness. You see?
Yeah, that's a big one.
When we say export clothing.
Like what you and I are wearing.
Yes. Local tailors. Bernard, if you are like me and you sew clothes every now and then trying to hide the size of your stomach. Every time you go to the tailor, today is the right size. Tomorrow
it changes. Standardization, quality, and all those things are critical.
They're critical. And these standards are not achieved because we don't have the right management systems. And the management systems are required so that we can scale. Right? And so you find that the masses of these smaller SMEs, they don't deliver sustainable jobs. They don't deliver the quality and the ability to export that we need. When you give them access to the market, they don't have enough capital, so they can't even, they get an order and they say, you want 6 tons per month. How am I going to do it for my small business? Where's that money coming from? We need champions. We need to select champions. We need to give those champions attention. And that selection process must be performance-based. But we need to select champions. And when I call up a champion, I'm not just saying any company. A company that is controlled from here. A company that is owned here, not just registered here. a company that can scale and be sustainable.
So you think our large companies, our so-called champions are not owned by us? That's another issue, right?
Nah, they're not owned by, they're not controlled by us. They are registered locally. I'm not saying they're not registered locally. They're all registered locally. But how many are controlled by us? How many don't have a management contract that ships out money? How many don't have somebody who sits in Joburg, somebody who sits in Lagos, somebody who even sits in Kenya, Botswana, that takes the real decisions?
So it's part of the problem.
It's part of the problem. And until we get to the point where the, what do you call it? We own, we control, we're not going very far. A couple of days ago, a few days ago, last week, Thursday, I was in a program and I gave a talk about who owns the Ghanaian economy. And I said, listen, the fact that you have the keys, the fact that you live in the house, doesn't mean you are the owner. You are a tenant. And in fact, you remember that profit repatriation of 2.9 billion that went out? That's rent that this country paid to the true owners of what is here. And I'm not saying this to be xenophobic. I'm saying that our inability to select champions, grow champions, our underperformance, our inability to scale is what is causing the other companies to take over.
Wow.
Truly, if you can't build your house and somebody builds a house and you rent, you can't lambast the person. What is his crime? You were not able to build, I've built, you are lucky I'm even allowing you to rent it. Then you are complaining. No, that's not the complaint. The complaint is, how do I build my own house? Otherwise, you'll find that Ghanaian companies are pawns looking at this king and queen, all white. Oh, well, they used to be white in those days. Now they could be Nigerian, they could be anything.
So intentional champion building.
Intentional champion building. And let's be clear. Right now, in the 90s, because of the revolution, early 90s, I'll say from 81, the revolution, we ended up consuming all those entrepreneurs of those days. Remember the Siam, we had the biggest brewery in West Africa. We're talking about RT Briscoe, we're talking about B.A. Mensah, all those, we consumed them. Now the consumption is different. It has an 8-year cycle.
8 years of plenty.
8 years of plenty followed by 8 years of starvation.
So the champions are politically created and politically aligned.
Yes. As surely as night follows day, I can tell you that the champions of the past 8 years till 2024, to the end of 2024, they are struggling now.
So
they'll continue struggling.
So we need to build
reversal.
Politically agnostic
Thank you.
winners.
And we need to, and you see, I even go further and say, even if the patronage was political, even if the selection process was tainted, a champion is our champion. A champion will even give contracts to those SMEs we are talking about. Because Bernard, suppose I'm a champion and I have a contract to give. Don't I have a connection with Bernard Avile? Why not? So I'm a champion and I have a corporate event somewhere in another country where I'm operating. I insist that no, to keep up with our standards, we should use Bernard Avile as the moderator because he holds the keys. He holds the keys to our standards.
Of course.
It's that simple.
So in conclusion, you're saying two big things. Stop over-obsessing about imports. Because by the way, even the non-traditional imports are not that many.
Yes.
Right? It's oil and some of the big things. If you can retain your export earnings, your currency will be strong.
Your currency will be
strong.
strong.
And then if you can choose champions. Of course, the currency has been stable for the past year. Right? The currency has been relatively stable. It hasn't yo-yoed. So they obviously are doing something, possibly addressing some of the things you are calling for. Because as you say, you don't have 20, 25 figures to put on this slide?
I'll go out on a limb, and I'll tell you that I don't have the 2025 figures, but we have snippets. We don't have the full picture. Here's the thing. We are enjoying a season of plenty and smiles. This is the time to fix the structural problems.
Okay.
This is when we must fix it. So that otherwise, as surely as night follows day, there will be an illusion of growth, followed by a season where we are in trouble. Ghana does not have a dollar problem. We have a dollar retention problem. We don't lack exports. We lack ownership of those exports. SME build funding in Ghana is about economic charity, not about growth. Growth will select champions. Those champions will deliver sustainable jobs. Those champions will scale up their employees. Those champions will be more productive.
All right. I think you've made your case. He who has an ear should hear what Joe Jackson is saying to the economy. Thank you, Joe. Great talking to you.
Great talking to you too.
When we come back, the new, why do you call him new? The MD of GCB Bank is coming. Of course, this is the first time he'll be on our show. To look at their 2025 financial results. Stay with us.
Welcome to Malcolm, where shopping is a musical experience for all generations. Grannies, let's roll it back.
Malcolm Ghana, we did for you. Malcolm's got it all for me and you. Sizzling discounts, we take up by a distance. Bring back home the experience we did for you. Life made so easy peasy, lemon squeezy, shopping made easy. Sometimes money day, sometimes some way out of pocket. We got you everywhere, everything, we got it all right here. Malcolm season. The price is right.
The price is right.
The price is nice.
The price is nice.
Fresh with the vibes, unbeatable. If the price they fight,
If the price they fight,
come for the views.
come for the views.
Come for the likes.
Come for the likes.
Everything you do want under one roof. Even come for the ride.
Oh, yeah, come for the ride.
Number one stop shop, number one. Your number one stop shop, Malcolm. Your number one stop shop, number one. Your number one stop shop, Malcolm. Malcolm Ghana, we did for you. Malcolm's got it all for me and you.
No matter the generation you belong to, Malcolm is where Ghana shops.
Bring back home the experience we did for you.
Bring home the experience.
Bestie, meet my lovely family.
I mean, we can do that whilst I'm seated and eating. Let me pray on the food before we eat.
He will be here for days, and I only find out at a family dinner on the day that he arrives.
Morning, family.
Everything in the kitchen is actually gone.
You know, in the UK, I work like a donkey, but here, I eat like a monkey.
My noodles just vanished like a spirit had brunch.
He finished my slightly burnt oil rice.
Half crate of eggs cannot just poof, disappear.
Good morning, all.
Lesa, have you by any chance gone to the kitchen?
Madam, unless the kitchen works to be my sleep, we are there in the kitchen.
If I die, wouldn't you serve food at my funeral?
Heaven save us. Now
Bestie.
Away, Dad. I'm sure he's gone.
Good morning.
I thought you were gone.
The Blankstons premieres on Thursday, April 2nd, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. on Channel 1 TV.
The vibe is too much.
Welcome back. We are still on the point of view, and as I said, we had a 2-in-1 show. Now we want to look at Ghana's biggest bank, GCB Bank PLC. They released their financial results a few days ago with some very, very impressive numbers. Indeed, the general view is that they've done very well. BNFT, for example, on Monday reported that GCB Bank strengthens market leadership with record 3.2 billion profit in 2025. So things seem to be going very well. I want to go into the facts behind these figures with the MD of the company. I call him the new MD because we haven't spoken to him in the media until today. He's been in office for slightly over a year. Farihan Alhassan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Bernard.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Good to see you.
When were you appointed?
It's been... It's
1 year.
1 year, 3 months.
Quickly.
2 months, yeah, time flies.
So we can say 2025 was your year, the year that you...
Exactly, exactly, a full year for me.
So this reflects your work?
Exactly, exactly. The work of the team.
I hear.
Yes.
What were you told as the remit? What was your responsibility when you were given the job of MD?
So, Bernard, thank you very much. Knowing GCB Bank as Ghana's biggest indigenous bank, the bank is woven with Ghana's economic history, right from 1953. And so there are some emotions attached to GCB Bank, even for non-customers.
True.
So coming in, it was very clear to me that you're not coming to just do any job and move away. People wanted you to come in not just to maintain the status quo, but to improve on the legacy that was laid before I joined. So I was very, very clear in my mind what the expectation was. The bank is likely to have customers who are very, very loyal to the bank. They are very loyal to the brand. They love it. The staff love the place.
Yeah.
They will kill anything to keep GCB Bank. And so it's an adult's responsibility.
Yeah.
I'm incredibly honored to be leading that institution. Coming from a multinational, from working with Barclays and working with Standard Bank, the culture is quite different.
Yeah.
But I've been very, very impressed with what I've seen so far, meeting a cadre of employees who are so eager to be the best of the
market. So
market.
they're emotionally connected to what they do.
Exactly, exactly.
It's also a listed bank. That means it's not, of course, not all banks in Ghana are listed. Yeah. So that suggests you have some very important shareholders you have to deal with beyond your customers.
Absolutely, which is what makes it very complex.
Yeah, because you're dealing with customers who have expectations, shareholders who have expectations, the government, because whatever you do must align with government policy, and then the staff. So it's a complicated.
And to make even more complicated, even non-customers, Ghanaians who don't have shares or accounts with GCB Bank, rightly want to see GCB Bank do well.
So they can even complain even though they don't have money in the bank.
Exactly. So the expectation is quite high.
Yeah. So how has it been for you?
Look, it's been one of pride. It's one of humility. Like I told you earlier on, it's a responsibility I don't take for granted. You are leading Ghana's biggest bank at such a very young age.
When you say Ghana's biggest bank, explain that, because you know, you people, bankers, you have different things by assets, by branch network, by customers. So when you say Ghana's biggest bank, what metrics are you using to make that claim?
So by all metrics. So for example, by number of branches, we've got 184 branches, 333 ATMs. No one has that channel.
Whether local or foreign?
No one comes.
So in terms of branch network,
no one comes
we are the
close.
largest.
Today we are the biggest bank in terms of assets as well. No one comes close.
When you say assets, that also means deposits.
No, this means total assets.
Total assets.
On loans, we are the biggest. No one comes
close. You give
close.
the most loans.
Exactly.
What about customers?
On deposits, we are the biggest. No one comes close.
What about
on
customers?
No one comes close. We've got about 3.5 million customers. So we are the biggest by any stretch of measure.
What if somebody uses profit?
Of course, we are the biggest in profit as well. We made the biggest profit in 2025.
So Ghana's biggest bank?
We are the Ghana's biggest bank by any stretch of measurement.
I noticed that the profit figure you led with, which other media colleagues led with, was 3.2 billion. When we analyzed, we decided to use your net profit. Yeah. So you did profit before tax. But but for 2 billion, is it still healthy?
So this is the first time any bank has done 2 billion net profit. It has never happened in the industry before.
Wow.
This is the first time a bank would have done a gross profit of 3.2 billion. It's never happened before. We have generated a healthy operating income of 6 billion. This is the first time any bank in the industry has done that. It has never happened before. But for me, the excitement is not just in the profit. It's in the total health of the franchise. That we have built a franchise that can stand the test of time.
You know what's interesting? Usually people say banks do well when economies don't do well, generally. But it's strange because the economy has picked up.
Yeah.
All the rates are moving in the right direction. So I find it quite curious that the banks are actually doing well now, because generally, when people are struggling, the banks are making money. But we've had all the rates coming down, currency is stable, and yet the banks are also doing well. What am I missing here?
So I think what DDEP did for most bankers was it forced us to begin to think differently, to be a bit more clever, to be with the customers. And so you begin to understand customer pain points right from the beginning.
Okay.
And once the solution for the customer brings you their money. So I think DDEP has played a bigger role in this. Whilst it came with its own problems, it forced bankers to begin to think
to think outside the
yes,
box.
Yes.
So 69% year-on-year profit, solid. I noticed a few big things. So your revenue jumped up by 42%. Your impairment dropped. And then the combined effect means the bank is in a strong position. Are those the two most important things you look out for if you look at your balance sheet?
So that's the point I was making earlier on, that it's just the total health of the business. Our capital adequacy ratio is way above the regulatory threshold. Like you said,
I think it's 18%.
Yes.
The industry is 13% is the standard.
13% is actually the
BOG.
Yeah. Industry average is about 17%. So we're above the industry average. Impairment has come down very well from almost 15% in 2023.
I think I have that here. Let me go there so we look at it. Impairment, yes, this.
Yeah. So you see from this that the downward trend in impairment is not just as a result of the growth in the asset book, but it's down to collecting customers who took money they were not paying. So the story is about the health of the business. And I think that's what I need to emphasize.
So let's look at this. Your non-performing loan ratio came down from 15 to 10.
Yes.
Your bad debt write-off also fell, which means that you were actually collecting the money. You're not writing them off.
No, exactly.
And then, so for you, this is a
and the new loans we're doing, we're not getting bad. That's another very important. So we're careful around loan originations.
Why is this important to you?
The things that have brought banks down are normally your credit risk. When you have very low underwriting standards, you tend to bring in bad loans. And don't forget the monies you give out to customers are not your monies. So you tend to dilute shareholder value in the amount of loan you write off all the time. This is a big deal for us because if you look at the industry average today, it's hovering around 18%. So
you are way, and viewers, I need to say this, when it comes to non-performing loans, the lower the better. So in accounting benches. So if this number is close to 0, it's fantastic. So that 10 is much better than a 15.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's just go back and look at a few things. So your main revenue lines seem to be doing well, right? Your interest income has gone up, fees and commissions has gone up, and your trading income has also gone up. Was this because of the economy or any specific initiatives you in the team put together?
The overall performance of the business is down to a carefully thought out strategy.
Okay.
A carefully disciplined execution of our strategy.
Uh-huh.
So if you speak to anyone in GCB today, they will tell you what we want to do as a bank. They can tell you why we want to do what we want to do, and they can tell you how we should be doing it. So our strategy is very clear. The team understands where we're going, and they're fully focused on going that. If you look at this, the excitement is not in the net interest income.
Okay.
The excitement is in the fees. It's in the fees. So you're not just making money from customers by giving them loans, but you are finding very clever ways of at least still being relevant in their journeys and making money off that, which is probably where we would have to play in 2026.
So that's a 45% increase in your fees and commissions, and your trading income is also
which is part of it as well. You know, every customer trades, whether the customer in Makola or the customer in Asafo or that lady who sells at the kiosk there, they all trade. So you need to be with them anytime they have a financial need, and that's what I think GCB has done very, very well in 2025. We are in the face of the customer. The customer understands if there's any financial partner that I need, then it is GCB. So they have trusted us, they are bringing us their businesses, and we are fulfilling those businesses for them.
How do you balance what GCB wants to do for its shareholders from what the country wants to achieve? And let me put some flesh to the question. So the country is trying to get a low interest rate environment for obvious reason. So T-bill rates are coming down, all the rates are coming down because the economy wants to cool down. That may not be good for you because what you get from your securities may be much lower, right? You belong to us, right? So our objective as economy is that we want to cool down, but you want to make money. How do you balance that? How does that affect your strategy?
So, and I hear people say that, but on the contrary, it is good for the bank as well.
Okay.
When rates are high, the probability of defaults are very high as well.
Okay.
So if I give you a loan at 30%, the possibility of you paying or the probability of you paying is much lower than if I give you the loan at a very lower interest rate. So what this low interest rate regime does for banks is that your NPLs will typically come down. Customers who didn't have the capacity to borrow certain amounts will not have the capacity to borrow those amounts. So you are able to actually originate bigger of volumes of loans than you would have originated in the past. So it bodes well for both the customer and the bank. 4 or 5 years ago, all of you banks in a high interest rate environment decided that you don't give the money to us. You gave it to government. Exactly. And so exactly. You decided, so my point is that in a high interest rate environment, a lot of the banks, including your bank, had a large amount of their interest income coming from government securities, not from lending to customers. That is very, very true. So you could see that was... Which was bad. It was good for the bank, but not good for the customer. It was bad for the country. Exactly. I agree. So for you, the lower interest rate environment inevitably is good. It's good for everyone, and would encourage that we continue to have a very low interest rate environment. Okay. Something else caught my attention. I wanted you to comment on. I've already commented on this. Your loan book also expanded. So from 11, almost 12 billion cedis to 70. It means you gave more loans. It means we supported more businesses. It means we supported more SMEs. It means we supported more individuals to realize their dreams. So I'm asking this because, it's possible your loan book can increase because you give more money to the same people. Or you give different people money. It's true. So which? Are you just giving the same people more money, or you are expanding the number of people you are giving money to? We are giving different people monies. So in the retail space, for example, we are giving to different... I'm sure you'd have a slide that would look at that. Go into that, yes. You'd see that the volumes of loans we've given are much higher than we've ever given. And this is the test of a financial institution. Are you just keeping money to yourself, or you are supporting the real sector? Mm-hmm. So this tells you the GCB is not just any other bank, but we are a bank that is in the lives of our customers. We are supporting the real sector. That woman in Makwala, that woman in Swami or Asafo is actually taking facilities. Let me actually test whether what you are saying is true by breaking... Let me go into your so-called loan book. Let me look at the corporate loan book first. And viewers, we are basically talking about monies they lend to corporate entities, not to individuals. The deeper color is this year, or last year, and then the lighter color is the previous year. Manufacturing has increased phenomenally. Exactly. Construction, and then transport. Actually, mining and quarrying has got the largest jump. Services is almost the same. Commerce and finance has reduced. Agric doesn't even exist. Can you comment on this? So, and that's the point I was making, that we were supporting customers to realize their dreams. Mm-hmm. So ours is not just to give out loans. If you look at construction, this is a place that employs lots of people. And the test of me as GCB Bank is not just giving out loans. Mm-hmm. It's about how are those loans supporting economic transformation in the country. So we're supporting construction where people... So it's labor intensive? Where people normally would not support. So typically financial institutions run away from construction. We think we understand the model quite well. We are supporting in that area, and it's creating jobs for people. Manufacturing typically is actually where this country should be heading. It's very big, actually. It's almost a fourfold increase in manufacturing. And that is where this country should be heading towards if we want to transform the economy. So this is a deliberate decision to... Intentional. The outcome of 2025 figures is as a result of an intentional execution of our strategy. I read somewhere that you are shifting from a predominantly retail-funded model towards a more diversified platform spanning wholesale, commercial, and transaction banking. What does that mean? So typically we've been a retail bank. We haven't really been a bank where SMEs and corporates would say, this is our bank. So, and different segments have different needs. Okay. The retail segment has a different need. The SME sector has a different need. Your local corporate have a different need. So what we've done is to structure the business along those three segments. So if you like, we are a segment-led business. What that this does for us is that we're a bit more sharper in attending to customer needs. We're a bit more nimble. We're a bit more agile, and of course, we're commercially sharper in addressing customer pain points in the different customer segments. So you don't use a retail problem to solve an SME problem.
We decided to break down your loans, and I'm not sure you wanted me to do this, but we did it anyhow, between what we call corporate employee scheme loans and personal loans. So when you put this together, you've given a lot of loans. But we noticed that you seem to be more comfortable with this type of loan than simpliciter personal. Can you explain why?
So customers prefer this type of loan to this loan.
What's the difference between the two?
So these are your corporate schemes. So for example, CTFM will come in and we give loans to all your employees instead of just giving it to Bernard alone. Because CTFM is a corporate, if you're taking the loan as City FM employee, the parameters are quite different from taking the loan as Bernard Avle. So people tend to prefer this kind of loan. So this has gone down because most of these people here have actually moved away from personal loans into the corporate.
And they can pay this one easily.
Easily. Yeah.
Something to take it. This one is interesting. You've increased your SME loans by over 200%. That is serious.
That speaks to what I spoke to you about.
So although the amount is small, it's compared to the others. So, I mean, 33 million to 105 million is not that much compared to the other sectors.
They pay down. These guys take short-term loans and they pay down quickly.
Okay.
So if you're going to look at the count is a lot more.
Do you give them lower interest rates?
Exactly.
SMEs.
SMEs. Yeah.
Wow. So we are still talking to the MD of GCB Bank PLC because they are publicly listed. Yeah. Don't forget, the authorities are trying to get more banks to list. I'm told of our 23 banks, only about 8 or 9 have listed, and that's not very good. The more the public gets involved in banks, the more scrutiny and the more they sort of deal with other issues for us. So GCB Bank is the largest bank in terms of branch network, in terms of the asset base, and then in terms of customers as well. Farihan Alhassan is the... Can I call you new MD?
No, I'm not new anymore.
1 year still new.
Charlie, but...
1 year. But it's interesting. You studied mathematics at KNUST.
I did.
Why would anybody want to do that?
It was by accident.
Did you enjoy it?
A lot.
4 years?
I would study maths in my next life.
I want you to tell the children watching why studying maths is good, because I've been telling some people in my house to study maths and they think I'm
don't want to.
You can become the bank manager of GCB if you studied maths. What does maths do for you?
It opens your brains. You are a bit more analytical. Yeah, look, in my next life, if I knew...
do maths.
This was by accident anyway. But if I have the next life to live, I'll do maths.
And you were in tech. What hall were you in?
Good question.
Oh, you were a pitcher.
I was a pitcher who was supposed to be in report.
Oh my God.
But I spent all my time in Unity Hall.
Of course, Conti Power.
Yeah, Conti Power.
I see. Interesting.
Yes.
Before you moved...
But the guys in this hall will tell you that they always saw me there because I had friends in Indies.
One of the things that worries me is that some of our smartest people are all working for financial institutions. It's a problem for me. Because finance is great, but a mathematician should be doing other things too.
Is it because we don't have the opportunity for them to do different things?
Because you can design a spaceship. I mean, you can do a lot of things.
No, the KNUST professor will be happy if I say what I want to say. They didn't teach you how to create spaceships. But they teach you how to do this.
But there's a rigor with math. Very interesting. All right, so things seem generally okay. One of my beefs with banks has been that more of their income comes from securities than from lending. And somebody who studied economics, the basic reason for a bank is financial intermediation.
Exactly.
Take money from those who have excess of it and give it to those who need it. So, and I feel like a loan is your basic, the SI unit of your health is your loan. Why are all of you making so much money from these things? Indeed, when I checked your income breakdown, if you give me a second, I'll go back. I don't want to quote it. So your interest income was 6.1 billion.
Yes.
3.2 billion came from investment securities.
Yes.
Loans and advances to customers was 2.5 billion. And then cash and short-term funds was 320 million. So I will say in investment securities 53%, loan and advances to customers 41%, cash 5%. I feel like this is not right for any bank, not even a GCB matter. And most of your competitors are the same. Why?
So your ability to generate loans is also a function of the economy. when there's an economic downturn, banks tend not to give out a lot of loans. Don't forget our rates had shot up to almost 40% at a point in time. If you give out loans to a customer in this high interest rate regime, what you're calling for is a bad loan. So it's not even good for the customer to borrow in a very high interest rate regime. That is the first point. The second point is, of course, banks are rational. Where would I put my money and make more money? If I make more money in the treasury bills, I'll put my money in the government security, which is probably why this current low rate interest regime would force us to begin to think about how better we could still maximize shareholder value.
To be fair, this 53% is even lower than what it was in 2022.
But if you look at the GCB story, again, you would realize that GCB is lending a lot more in the real sector. Today, our loan to deposit ratio is almost 50%, which is probably one of the highest in the industry. In terms of loans and advances, we have actually given out more loans than any other bank.
Is there an ideal balance of the interest income breakdown between investment and loans? Is there an ideal balance or an optimal balance you're looking for?
Look, Bernard, it's opportunities. So if customers don't come to ask for those loans, you have no option than to put them in government securities. If they come in and they don't meet your risk assessment, you probably are challenged in giving them those facilities. So what we're doing now, like I said earlier, is we don't see customers as customers. We see them as partners. So how do we work with you to ensure that you have systems that allows us to give you this facility without you defaulting? Don't forget the stress that comes to the customer themselves if they take the loan and they're not paying.
My other problem with you is the short-term nature. T-bills, almost 200% growth between last year and this year. Your medium term also grew. It's the longer-term ones that are contracting. I'm not sure that's a function of the way the economy is.
Exactly. You are playing a broader economy. So we need to just contextualize the conversation in that broader economy.
But I
today,
feel like
today, if you go back and you look at the numbers will be different because T-bills are now giving you just 4%. So it will not make sense to put in monies in those.
Of course, we are looking at 24 into 25.
Exactly.
You are right. So looking at where T-bills are now, this may not be. But you admit that a focus on T-bills crowds out because again,
it's true. It's not a good thing.
Government should not be.
It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for any economy.
In the long term.
Yeah, it's not a good thing for any economy.
All right, fair enough. Let's see a few more issues here. Your deposits, current account 55%, savings 37%, time deposit. Again, we are told in economy that generally one of the reasons why the Asians are better than us in the economy is that they have a better savings rate. They save a larger percentage of their income. So just looking at this generally suggests to me that we can do better with savings deposits, savings mobilization.
So we must encourage that culture of savings in account like the Japanese have. So that, Bernard, when you have your savings account for 20 years, you know what you're saving towards. You have a certain amount that you save in. Today, it's only the pension schemes that have long-term funds that banks can actually use to lend to customers.
But you know how we are not saving? I was looking at BOG figures. The average savings deposit rate is below 8%, 5%. But I'm coming. And again, what I'm saying is industry standard. When I look at BOG, your spreads are too high. If I give you 1 million cedis today, versus if I come for 1 million cedis from you, the spread between what you give me for saving 1 million with you and what you charge me for giving me 1 million is sometimes 20%.
It's true, but they're not saving not because of that, Bernard. You've got other instruments. For example, when you buy the bonds, when the reality is that they don't save because it's not a culture. It's not an African culture. In the Asian space, it's part of their culture to save. So I think that's the.
But the bank can change our culture by giving us more for how much you save there.
Well, they've got fixed deposit which pay some really good rates. But
I'm talking about the average savings deposit interest rate that they give. It's very low.
It's a function of your
so
ability
what I'm basically saying is that the savings account is not attractive because the amount you get after a year is how much.
But there are other instruments you could save those monies.
Fair enough.
That's the point I'm making.
Okay, so we shouldn't make too much noise about this.
Yes.
All right, let's end with good. So this is like a snapshot of the health of the bank. Return on equity, 39%. Return on assets, 4.3%. Earnings per share, I'll come to this shortly. NPL ratio, we've discussed this. This is very good. Which of these numbers are you most excited about? Oh, wait, let me change the question. Which of these are most important for you?
Look, they are all important. They are all important. Your ROE is a function of your efficiency. Capital adequacy ratio shows you are in a very good space when it comes to capital. Your NPL shows that you are giving out loans carefully and prudently. Your liquidity ratio shows that you are a bit more liquid to do a lot of transactions. So
all of these are important.
They're important. And this probably is more important for me than the profitability.
Okay, this is important for shareholders because they own the bank. Yeah. So ROE is critical, 39%, and it's gone up.
And it's gone up.
So shareholders are supposed to be happy here. NPL ratio is coming down, which is also good.
They're happy.
Capital adequacy is a regulatory requirement.
And I don't have to go to the NTL to bring in more capital.
But your liquidity ratio has marginally come down. Should you be worried? From 69.7 to 67.5.
A function of the loans that we are doing. We are creating a lot more loans in the system. Like you see,
But is 67 good enough?
Very good, very good, very good.
So the drop in 2% is not such a big issue.
It's no problem.
This is big from earnings per share. So basically, this is how dividends are calculated, right? 4.5 to 7.8. So ordinarily, shareholders should be excited.
They should be. They should be excited because the financial institution that they have invested their money in is doing very well. Their earnings per share has probably almost doubled.
But I'm told this year you can't pay dividend.
It's true, but I just need to clarify that our inability to pay dividends has nothing to do with the financial health of the institution.
Quite clearly, yes.
It has a lot more to do with a constraint that we are facing with some other banks, 7 other banks, as a result of Bank of Ghana's reclassification of some investment that we did.
As an industry?
As an industry.
Okay.
Whilst we disagree with those reclassifications, I think they make a lot of sense when they also explain to us their position. So we are still engaging Bank of Ghana.
Has that been made public?
It has been made public. I think we issued a press statement in that regard as to why, even though we announced that we're going to pay dividends of 1 cedi per share last year, we could not pay because we're still in engagement with the central bank, and we were not getting any common ground on why we should pay dividends. I'm happy to know that the posture of the central bank is one of collaboration, and so we are still engaging. And if we are able to make superior arguments for them to allow us to pay, we are in the best position to pay dividends.
What I was asking was, has the central bank told the public why they are not allowing the industry to pay dividends?
So it is in the Banking Act that when you exceed your SOL on certain transactions, you cannot pay dividends.
What is SOL?
Single obligor limit. So, and the reclassification of this happened after DDEP. So in the past, it was not considered as under the SOL. Then after we have reclassified them from the BOG perspective, it's not subject to SOL. So that is actually
so single obligor means that your loans, you shouldn't give one company more than a certain percentage of your loan.
Of your net own funds.
So that was they upgraded the limit?
No, so...
Or they added that condition to the condition for paying dividend?
The facility in question was a bill.
Okay.
And bills were not considered under the SOL.
I get you.
But because of some happenings in DDEP,
I get it.
It was reclassified into a bond.
Okay.
You understand? And now they are now considering the bond under the SOL classification. So but I'm happy with the constructive engagement we have had with the central bank.
So it's an ongoing discussion?
It's an ongoing discussion.
So it's possible the regulator may back down?
It is possible. We don't want to raise expectations. Like I said, their push is one of collaboration. We are engaging. We are having meetings around it. If they tell us to pay today, the bank is in a very good position to pay, as you can see from our financial numbers. So I appreciate the disappointments that our shareholders have, because when a bank generates this level of performance, it is just right that you also have a fair distribution of the earnings.
I think you said at the beginning that there are many different stakeholders. So shareholders, customers,
staff,
the economy,
board,
the regulator,
everybody.
So sometimes...
And you have to please all of them.
What is the focus for this year?
We are not changing anything. We are focused on the customer. Our 2025 performance validates the strategy of the bank. And the strategy of the bank is to solve customer pain points. It's to stay very close to the customer, deepen our relationship in both in all the three segments, whether in retail business, in the commercial and business banking business, or in the wholesale and investment business. That is our strategy. And we'll continue to deal with that, to position ourselves not just as a bank relevant today, but relevant for the future.
Do you see a change in your sectoral focus? SME increased very high, but in terms of the amount, it wasn't that big. You did a lot of construction, you did a lot of manufacturing. Should I take it that's where you're going to go more?
And we do a lot more. Agri was quite low.
Yes.
One of the things we don't do is we don't get into areas where we have no expertise.
Okay.
So we are building capacity in agri-business, for example. I think that by June you see us do a lot more in the agri-business space. So we will continue to do we'll continue to be where we are now, but do a lot more in the other segments or sectors.
We're in a technology era. Are you concerned it can affect? Because, and let me explain this carefully. In the past, I used to go to the bank a lot. Now, I don't go to the bank, but I bank. That is good for me.
Yes.
But it may mean some people may not get work to do in the next 10 years. How are you balancing delivering value to your customer versus also keeping people employed? Because inevitably, technology will reduce the kind of work people can do.
People still need people to help them do certain things. I don't think technology would lay off people as people think. I think technology will create more opportunities for people to use their skills differently. So you will still need to walk to the branch today, but you don't walk to the branch to actually take money or deposit money. You will need some advisory services. You still need to do something in the bank that requires a human being to engage you.
So your promise to customers for the next year?
Our bank is open for business. We are not just a bank. We are your financial partner. We serve you across the 3 business units that I earlier on spoke about. We are fully functional commercial bank. There's nothing that you would need from a bank that GCB cannot offer you. So walk into any of our branches, make a call to the customer service center, call into any of our channels, and we'll be there to support you.
Wonderful. We put this together with our friends from Finex Skills Hub. So this is your own data that we put together here. So thank you, Farihan.
Thank you, Bernard, for the interview, and thank you very much for always being a GCB advocate. Thank you.
I should have worn yellow tie, but today I'm wearing made in Ghana.
I know you have GCB in your blood, so.
We've been talking to the MD of GCB, a bank, on their latest financial results. Relatively good, seeming confident. We'll call him again next year to see whether the trajectory continues. Earlier on, we had Joe Jackson looking at 2 myths of the Ghanaian economy on exports and SMEs. We hope you've learned something new. We'll see you next time. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.